Hi, I'd like to welcome everyone to another in the series of webinars designed for departments of transportation. And I especially want to thank all of you for joining today under these quite difficult circumstances. I'm Terry Bills, the Transportation Industry Manager here at Esri, and today I'm joined by Ismail Shavit, who's the Product Manager for QuickCapture. And today we're especially pleased to have James Hainstock from the Michigan DOT, who will talk about his experience with QuickCapture at Michigan DOT. So today's webinar is focused on what for us is a reasonably new product that's received a very fast uptake in the DOT community. And we wanted to give you some product updates, and talk about some various use cases that transportation agencies have discovered for QuickCapture, and then help answer any questions you might have. And so this product, like others in our field data collection suite, is really designed to be fully integrated into the suite of applications designed for your field workers, your inspectors, your maintenance workers, or anyone who spends any amount of time in the field. Particularly with QuickCapture, it's designed to be used by your field inspectors who want to very easily collect information, either while traveling down the highway or in difficult situations, or anywhere that a simple data collection application is needed. And that really is the hallmark of QuickCapture. It's simple to use, and it's designed to facilitate data collection, as we call it, at speed. Before we begin, I'd like to point out that we are recording this webinar, and while everyone will be on mute, there will be time for question and answers at the end of the presentation. So you can type your questions into the question box, and we'll try to answer as many as time allows. Additionally, these slides will be posted to the Departments of Transportation GeoNet site that you can download after the webinar is over. And that includes a number of links to further training and information about QuickCapture. So again, as I mentioned, Esri has really built a series of downloadable applications, all designed with your field workforce in mind. So there are 4 different applications for data collection, each really designed for a different set of requirements, and 2 others to help you manage work orders and really efficiently navigate to the job site. One for simple map exploration, and a final one designed for supervisors really to track work performance. These applications are designed to be complementary really to any existing asset management or work order management solution that you may be currently using, and are really designed how can you help bring greater efficiencies to those systems. So really from our perspective, we've been really quite impressed by the quick uptake of these applications and how many great success stories and cost savings have already been documented. And the number of agencies who are now using iPads and other tablets for inspections and maintenance activities is really growing exponentially. And certainly in these times of having to do more with less, the area of mobile enablement remains a great area to capture quick savings in time and efficiency. So for most organizations, the basic challenge is really how do I connect my workers who are in the field and back into my corporate systems. So often these crews are working off of paper information, which really may or may not be current. And at the same time, because it is paper, there are really very few effective ways to bring that information back into our corporate systems and to update our databases with changes made in the field. And certainly from my own experience, I can't tell you how many organizations I've seen where the latest and the most current information is still sitting in the back of somebody's truck on a route log book or a similar type of document. So what we ultimately want to do is how do we move from those paper processes really to modern workflows so that we can have seamless data coordination between the field and the office. Same time, we want to make sure that those are as simple as possible, recognizing that your field crews are really not GIS experts and that really they've developed pre-existing workflows over any number of years that they feel very comfortable with. So it's really in this context that we've designed these various applications and how we can give your field crews powerful tools for the field, but that are also simple to use. And in addition, we have developed a number of simple templates, not necessarily for QuickCapture, but for other components of our mobile solutions that you can freely download from our solutions page, which are also designed to get agencies up and running, collecting data in no time. So templates for everything from collecting information about guardrails, signs, signals, rail crossings, pavement markings, among others. But really the best way to document this is let's go in and let me turn it over to Ismail to give an overview of QuickCapture and various uses as well. Ismail.
Thank you, Terry. So next I'm going to talk a little bit about what is ArcGIS QuickCapture and also how people are using this application. QuickCapture has a very simple concept. It's really like a fat button, big button mobile app. And as you can see in this screenshot here, the application symbolizes different feature types. And just by simply tapping a button, you can create features. This makes the user experience of QuickCapture makes it ideal for ad speed and rapid data collection workflows, where you don't want to be distracted by the application. You want to keep doing what you are doing and then tap on the mobile app very quickly to capture information. This application is available on iOS, Android, as well as Windows, and it works against ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. It can be configured, as you can imagine, to work offline and online. From a licensing perspective, the good thing is that if you already have ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, you already have it. So you can use this application today at no extra cost. The application is included with field workers and above user types, that is with creators and GIS professionals as well. You can also optionally buy it as an add-on on top of an editor user type. If you have ArcGIS Hub Premium, you can also use this application without a named user account. What I will do next is to give you a quick tour, no pun intended, over the QuickCapture mobile app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically start the application in my computer. You can download the application from the store and run it in your mobile device. In this case, I'm running the application in my Windows machine because it's also supported on Windows. So if you have tough books or laptops, you can also run it on your desktop. You can sign in with your ArcGIS Online or Enterprise account, but even if you want to just give it a quick go, you can tap at the very bottom, continue without signing in. And here we have a collection of simple projects. So if you tap on the plus button, you can see that you can browse a gallery of samples. The projects in QuickCapture can be configured to your own needs. In this case, I'm going to download road debris, urban search and rescue, and love for walking and cycling. These again are just sample projects, just meant for you to give this application a go without having to, get into creating your own projects. And this is perfect to really look at the concept. As you can see, this is the user interface. It cannot get simpler. You have feature types in front of you, observations, and then when you tap on them, we use the location from your device to create a GIS feature. So if I switch to the map, you can see that a new feature has been created at this location. At this moment, I have my application in simulation mode, so you can see that the actual location is moving. And that's pretty much the concept. Now you can tap on other features, and this will capture new information. Now, the beauty of this is that it is very simple for the field worker. There is not much training that you need to do to really understand how this works. You see a road marker, boom, you tap on it, a new feature is created. Now, this data gets automatically uploaded into ArcGIS. So you can see here, I'm looking at a web map, and this web map is also pointing at the same feature layer that we are that this project is targeting. So if I now add here rubble, you can see that we have one new feature. The application is going to automatically send this feature after 30 seconds. There you go. And now it will come into the web map in the next refresh. So you can see the new feature that was added. So it's actually quite simple for field users. And also it's kind of nice that you get this data streamed in real time so to ArcGIS, so you can support decision making. The other aspect I want to highlight, I will open another project like this one, is that you can configure this project in many different ways. For example, here you can see that buttons have been grouped in different boxes. This is to facilitate navigation. Also, there is a camera icon at the top. This means that the button has been configured to not only capture a GIS feature, but also associate a photo with it. So if I tap on this guy, the camera shows up. You can capture a photo, and this attachment will go along with your observation to the database. Finally, we have this project here, which I like to show because it illustrates how not only you can capture points, but also lines. So for example, here, as I am moving in a vehicle, I can capture linear features like a bike path on the right, and at the same time, a sidewalk on the left, on the right side. And while these features are being captured, I can also tap on traffic light when I go by a traffic light or a pedestrian crossing. So you can see here the app is quite simple to use. Through the settings, you can configure a few things. For example, the sound, the type of feedback that you want back from the device when you push a button, the auto send policy, and other things. This type of approach to data capture is quite interesting because it enables different data collection workflows that we couldn't address in the past. Colorado DOT, for example, has been using QuickCapture for quite some time, for about a year so far. And one of the workflows where they are applying the application is the quarterly night retroreflectivity inspections. This is a process that in the past used to be done on paper, and it was quite error prone, actually, the whole process. It was actually very difficult to capture the location where road signs in the road needed some repair from a retroreflectivity perspective. This is one of the projects that they configured. As you can see, it's designed to be used at night, and it has a few buttons for people to quickly capture information while in a moving vehicle. One person is driving and one person is taking notes through ArcGIS QuickCapture. Geo-referenced notes, I would say. So this is an interesting workflow that they are applying QuickCapture for. The other one is this idea of hazard reporting. So they figured that this application, this approach to data capture was simple enough for a driver to capture quickly observations or hazards that need immediate action. Now here the challenge is you should not, if you are driving, you should not touch the screen, even if the application provides a simple experience like this. You shouldn't even touch it. But the thing is, QuickCapture actually supports hands-free operation. So by just speaking out loud the label in your button, the application will push that button. This can be easily configured, this hands-free operation mode, in specific iOS models from Apple. So pretty much you can have the application up and running, and as you drive, you say crash, and then it adds a new crash point at that location, or you say mechanical assist, and it will actually trigger that feature right away. The real-time aspect of this ArcGIS application came very handy here, because as hazards are being reported by the snowplow drivers, they pop in a map, like you can see here. And this map is showing two things. It's showing hazards as they get reported or documented from the field, plus the location of the maintenance crews. So using this map, you can actually assign tasks to the maintenance crews. You can prioritize, you can dispatch the crews to the hazards that are being reported. And when the maintenance crew arrives to the site, they actually use Survey 123 to document all the work that has been done and to eventually close the assignment. So it's kind of a nice workflow where different applications are being used. One of them, QuickCapture, to do the reporting of the hazards. I'm going to switch over to Terry, who is going to describe how QuickCapture is being used at Maryland Department of Transportation.
Okay, yeah, the Maryland Department of Transportation, the State Highway Administration, like most other DOTs, has a noxious weed invasive species program. And they actually have sort of a series of retired biologists and other volunteers that they actually put out into the field, and really for spraying, but also for capturing the information about the location and when they were spraying and so forth. And so the Office of Environmental Design is actually the one that's in charge of this, and they're actually charged with looking at year over year the effectiveness of the program, and really sort of looking at the metrics on you know, kind of how many of the invasive species were reduced and overall the effectiveness. And historically, the method that they used was to send the teams out with 11 by 17 paper map books. So again, that paper process, and really having to mark up those maps out in the field, and then to try to document the amount of time and where they sprayed and so forth. And they would bring those map books back into the office, and it would take pretty much the rest of the year to kind of translate all of that into a GIS coverage. And so, as Maryland State Highway Administration would say, you know, it was an understatement to say that, you know, not only was that a highly inefficient process, but it was really one that was prone to error as well. And so it was against that backdrop, really, then that the Office of Environmental Design turned to the GIS folks at Maryland State Highway Administration and said, you know, can you develop an application that's really very, very simple to use? Hence the QuickCapture application that they designed. And so the field crews actually, as they're spraying, can simply hit a button, or as Ismail pointed out, they can simply call out that they are spraying, and then they can call out that they have stopped spraying. So it actually documents the amount of spraying, the particular noxious weed or species that they were spraying, and in fact, they can actually take a picture as well. So again, the very large stop and start buttons, and had all the functionality that they needed. And again, they were actually able to develop this application, as they said, really just in hours, as opposed to, you know, days or weeks. And the end result, ultimately, it's really a great story. And I said, instead of spending most of their time really just collecting and getting the data into a GIS database, now they find that they can spend the majority of their time really doing the analytics, analyzing the data, and seeing what the trends are between the different seasons. And basically the great quote from them is that we can spend more time getting value from the data instead of just collecting the basic information. And it's really a great case study, user case study, and one which every DOT has a similar type of program as well. So Ishmael, back to you.
Thank you, Terry. Obviously, Terry and I are very biased and we love QuickCapture for many different reasons, but we thought it would be best today to invite a user like you to describe how an organization is using QuickCapture. So we are lucky enough today to have with us James from Michigan DOT, who is going to tell us a little bit about how he uses the app.
Thank you, Ishmael. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I want to thank Ishmael and everyone at Esri for letting me be a panelist today to talk about QuickCapture. My name is James Hainstock, and I'm a student assistant for the Michigan Department of Transportation, Metro Region, Oakland TSC. I've been with DOT for about 8 months now, and I primarily do GIS and help supplement our operations staff's work with GIS. Today, I will be talking about our office's use of QuickCapture in the field and the various projects that QuickCapture has greatly helped in taking the workload off of our operations staff. The operations staff often find themselves juggling a lot of responsibilities and tasks. QuickCapture has been great for us in reducing these redundant tasks and simplifying processes for our field staff, as well as the numerous contractors that do work for us, so we can save more time and make things easier in general. Primarily, I will be talking about our office's large animal carcass collection project. The problem that we had before we implemented QuickCapture is there are a high amount of animal vehicle related incidents throughout the state. There was something like 50,000 in Michigan in the last year alone. And managing the removal of these incidents is an important task for transportation offices all around our state. We use a contractor who will travel all the county routes, highways, state routes, roads, etc., recording these incidents for disposal. I suppose somebody has to, right? The contractor will then report back to MDOT the number and location of these for record keeping and provide an invoice for the disposal of the large animal carcasses. Contractors get paid by amount of the LAC that they dispose of. Could you do the next slide, please? Thank you. As you can see here, the data is compiled by hand on spreadsheets. This recording of the GPS coordinates, date, route, time, etc., all that sort of stuff is a very clunky task that involves many people to compile this data on an Excel sheet, email it away to our operations staff along with all of the invoices so that we can ensure that the number of animals collected reported is accurate to the invoice. I'm sure it's troublesome for the contractor who has to pull the coordinates directly from his GPS device and then log the date and time in an Excel sheet. Then it will get passed along to me to plot all of the GPS coordinates on the map so we can visualize the areas covered, the LAC collected, and all the necessary location data. Next slide, please. But then QuickCapture came along for us. I was at a meeting with the GIS folks and other offices here at MDOT, and QuickCapture was mentioned. I hadn't heard of it, and this was in my first few months, so I still hadn't heard of Collector, Survey 123, or any of the other Esri products that are used. My supervisor and I then started talking about the ways in which QuickCapture can be implemented and all the projects that it can support and all the old problems that can be solved through this new app. We're always looking for new ways to modernize our workflows. So I created an easy to use app for our problem of animal carcass disposal in the county so that the contractor and MDOT can visually verify the collection of LAC, visualize all the areas affected, as well as all the other associated data that was previously pulled from the GPS by hand. To use our app, you simply tap the LAC button and the camera will prompt. You snap a photo of the animal carcass and the point with the photo attached is then automatically uploaded to the online dashboard for immediate viewing. The area driven button is a button that when pressed begins to plot a line charting the route that the user travels. At the finish, push the button again and the line will be recorded. This way, we can visually verify the areas that the contractor traveled, making it informative for us for seeing which routes and which areas have been covered, as well as areas that still need to be traveled. The part my supervisor, Violetta, has been most excited about is how there's little to no post-production time spent cleaning up the data for presentation and visualization. All the data and all the required fields is uploaded in real time to a map, so we can literally see the contractor's progress as it happens. As you can see, and this is really the area in which QuickCapture excels for us, is the ease of use and simple 2-button interface I designed. Makes it great for placing into the hands of those who have no prior experience with Esri products or GIS in general, so that your field staff, your student assistants, your interns, your contractors can all use QuickCapture after a 5-minute crash course with ease. I know a lot of the field data collection that happens for all of us at transportation occurs at speed when you're driving along the highway, which in the past involved pulling off to the side of the road, pulling out your laptop or a piece of paper and filling out all the information then. Now the field tech can just drive along with a colleague and while the colleague sits in the passenger seat, and all the data collection can happen at speed. Next slide, please. After seeing how QuickCapture will help our office, it wasn't hard to see the other areas in which it would help. So we began to visualize other projects and other problems that exist that QuickCapture can help streamline and solve. One of these here is our abandoned traffic control devices project. After the construction season, I created a QuickCapture project to inventory all of the abandoned traffic control devices that have remained after construction projects have wrapped up. The QuickCapture project I developed on the right lists all the contractors who had construction projects. Our field staff who are on their normal routes going out and about. When they come upon a few leftover barrels or barricades, they record who it belongs to, and from there it is uploaded to the map there on the bottom left there. So then we can contact the company and tell them that they have XYZ barrels from their project that they still need to go and collect. Seeing all the points on the map really helped us visualize the scale of the problem about contractors not picking up their equipment long after the project has wrapped up. Also listed is a countywide signage inventory. This is so we can identify and inventory signs around the county because our roads are oversaturated with the signs, and we'll use this inventory to review and eliminate signs that are no longer applicable. Rod, our field tech, did a great job of traveling all of the routes in the county, recording around 1,100 points himself in QuickCapture of signs all around the county. So huge hats off to him. In all, QuickCapture has been great for our office to implement. I'm constantly brainstorming all the ways in which it can help, problems it can solve, and processes it can help turn from 10 steps to 2 steps. I think it is a huge benefit for transportation departments all around the country. I want to thank everyone today for listening to my presentation. My email address is listed below right there. So if anyone, I encourage anyone wants to know more about QuickCapture and how to create projects for the app in areas in which it lacks or other possibilities, to reach out to either myself or Ishmael, and I'd be more than happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you, James. This was great. Thank you for sharing your experience. And of course, for everybody in the session today, remember we have a live Q&A in just 10 minutes. So please write down your questions. We'll try to address them at the end. Now, before we go into the Q&A, I want to share with you a few other things that you should know, particularly if you plan to get started with QuickCapture. The first one is, of course, how do you configure your own projects? For that, we have a web-based application that lets you work on top of existing feature layers. Visually, you will be able to bring your feature layers into a QuickCapture fat button user experience, and then drag and drop the buttons around, change the labels, and most important, define the behavior of your buttons. For example, here you can see how you can enable photos on your buttons, or how you can preview your project in different form factors. QuickCapture Designer is so easy to use that in just a few minutes, on top of existing feature layers, you can have your first project try. The second aspect I want to highlight is that when a button is pushed, a lot of things happen. Right from QuickCapture Designer, you can work with what is known as device variables. You can map these device variables to GIS attributes in your features. For example, to automatically calculate the direction of travel, the speed, the fixed time, the logged in username, the XY, latitude, and many other properties. This allows you to keep the user experience very simple because all people are doing is tapping a button, but on the back end, you get a very rich set of attributes along with every GIS feature you capture. One of my favorite device variables is this one, horizontal accuracy, which helps me understand what's the location quality of the data that people are sending from the field. There are over 40 different variables, and some of them apply to polygons, some of them to points or to lines. The other interesting aspect is this notion of user inputs. Sometimes you want to do a bit more than just having people push a button. You may want to pop a dialog so people can enter some additional comments via free text, or maybe select an option from a list. Is this high priority, low priority, etc. This is controlled through this concept of user inputs, which you can configure from Designer and use in the mobile application. As we described early on, QuickCapture is an application that lets you capture multiple features at once. We call this nested data capture, where you can have 1, 2, 3 buttons active, capturing polylines, for example. And while these polylines are being captured, you can also tap on the point buttons to capture field observations along. This is a pretty powerful concept. You can, for example, capture elements at one side of the road while you are capturing elements on the other side of the road. Now, in some cases, you don't want to use nested data capture. You may want to create exclusive groups. For example, in this animation here, you can see that we have trails, and trails are either for beginners or for advanced, but they cannot be both. These can also be modeled within your QuickCapture projects. So the moment you tap one button, the other buttons in the group will automatically deactivate. It's sort of capturing data in an exclusive way, exclusive group. From Designer, you can also control your map. So you can select from a pre-existing base map from your ArcGIS organization. You can also select your own maps, such as a web map, a vector tile package to go offline, or a mobile map package also to go offline. This ability to define your own maps in the application is very interesting because it allows you to bring maps with your own infrastructure assets in them to help people capture data more effectively. Not to mention that these maps, again, can be used even if disconnected from the network. Another interesting feature is that you can configure QuickCapture projects in tablets to have the buttons and the map side by side, like you can see here in the screen. This is wonderful when you want to see the data that you are capturing as you are capturing. So you don't have to flip between the buttons and the map. You can have them side by side. If you configure these maps with a web map with live data, you can actually look at the location of your colleagues or the data that your colleagues are capturing to avoid gaps in the area that you want to cover for data capture. The other aspect is that it's not necessary. The application leverages the built-in GPS included in your mobile device. But if you want extra quality for your data, extra consistency, you can actually leverage high accuracy GNSS receivers with QuickCapture. From a Bad device, like you can see here, to a more accurate EOS device, like you can see in the second photo here. The idea of combining high accuracy GNSS receivers with QuickCapture is, one, to get better locations, of course, but also to get metadata about the location quality of those observations that you are capturing. So all the classic metadata like VDOP, GDOP, and other variables from these devices you can store as attributes through the concept of device variables that we discussed a few minutes ago. I also want to share with you very briefly a few things that are coming up. We are going to release version 1.5 in May 5, and this version is actually in the early adopter program already. So if you want to try the latest version, you can go to the early adopter program from Esri and try it out. So what's coming in 1.5? A bunch of things, but I want to highlight just a couple. One of them is task automation with webhooks. This is a very powerful concept where you can associate your QuickCapture project with actions that get executed when you submit data. So let's pretend, for example, that you want to integrate QuickCapture or notifications, observations from QuickCapture with an SMS or with an email notification. Every time data gets captured, you can apply a filter and say, hey, if this observation is an incident and it is high priority, then send an SMS to one person or send an email to another person. You can also use webhooks to do instant data transfer. As data gets loaded into ArcGIS, automatically push the data into an Excel spreadsheet, for example, or move the data into a database, or enrich my data, calculate the closest address to every point that gets captured from QuickCapture. Again, really, really powerful. And the thing is that this task automation doesn't require any developer skills. You can visually build these workflows that connect different systems together. The other aspect is the project analyzer. This is part of Designer, the tool you use to create your projects. It's a small panel on the side that is going to help you author better projects. It's going to tell you if there are missing feature layers in your project. Maybe a button is pointing to a layer that no longer exists, or maybe a layer is not shared appropriately. The project analyzer is going to help you identify and fix these problems. Also in research, this is not part of 1.5, but it's a research project that I want to share with you. We are working with the SiteScan team. So SiteScan is an application by Esri that helps you control or fly a drone. You know, plan your flights or also fly your drone manually. So our idea is to integrate this flight control software with QuickCapture. So you can capture data while flying the drone. Basic idea is your drone has a camera. You can use your software in your iPad to look at the imagery from the drone, live imagery. And when you are flying nadir, looking down, you have a target, and then you can use that location as the input to QuickCapture. So you can fly over a flooded area and digitize with QuickCapture that flooded area right away. Or if you want, if you have found an interesting point, you fly over, you target it, and then you push the button in QuickCapture or use your voice to capture that location, and that goes into ArcGIS right away. If you want to learn more and get started with QuickCapture, I recommend that you go to QuickCapture GeoNet Place. In this GeoNet Place, you can find tutorials, you can find a forum to ask questions, and also announcements. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Terry so we can take a few live questions.
Okay, thanks, Ishmael. So a number of people asked if this recording will be available, and yes, it will. We normally put it back up on the website within 2 or 3 days, and as well as all of the slides that you saw today will be available on ArcGIS GeoNet Departments of Transportation. And again, you'll be able to see the recording in 2 or 3 days or so. Okay, so let's start off. There was a question: can QuickCapture support UTM coordinates? And is it possible to configure through ArcGIS Pro? I guess was kind of the two questions in the same one.
Sure. So on the first one, UTM coordinates, you can definitely target a feature service that is using UTM spatial reference. The application itself works always on lat-long WGS84, but we can do on-the-fly projection to enter the data as UTM into your own feature service. To the second question, can I use ArcGIS Pro? You don't use ArcGIS Pro to configure a project. For that, you use QuickCapture Designer. It's actually much easier than it would be with ArcGIS Pro. However, you can use ArcGIS Pro to create the feature layers that will be used by QuickCapture. In fact, in the QuickCapture GeoNet place, we have a tutorial that describes how to author your feature layers in Pro and then build the project in QuickCapture Designer.
Okay, and there was really a question, I think, really trying to get at the licensing. The question is, can you capture data and send it to ArcGIS to an ArcGIS Online map without signing in to QuickCapture?
That's a great question. So the answer is yes. You can download the application for free and download public projects. And without signing in, you can send data to ArcGIS. Now, for this to happen, someone needs to have authored and published a QuickCapture project publicly. Who can do that? Only users of ArcGIS that are licensing ArcGIS Hub Premium.
Okay, and then let's see, there's a question, and I think you might want to just reiterate. It said, can QuickCapture collect attributes for each feature? Can I create a drop-down for the features, for individual features in the app?
Right, that's a great question too. So yes, of course, you can capture attributes with QuickCapture. Now, you can capture attributes through device variables, automatically capture certain attributes. You can also expose user input dialog. These dialogues are created in Designer, and they allow you to present a drop-down lists as well as free text. Now, having said this, the intent with QuickCapture is not to let you build a, very complex data capture model like you could in Survey 123. We want to be loyal to the notion of QuickCapture, where the user taps a button and you are pretty much done. You can define as many as one user dialog per button, but no more. Say comments or priority. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that you can create as many buttons as you like. And each of these buttons can have default GIS attributes coded in them. So for example, you can create a button for issue high priority, medium priority, and low priority. When these buttons are pushed, you can automatically set attributes in the type attribute, which will be issue, as well as the priority attribute, which would be high, medium, or low, depending on the button that you pushed.
Okay, and I guess another question that's sort of along the same lines. Could you briefly speak to really the benefits of QuickCapture versus Survey 123 or Collector, and really maybe just a little discussion relating to what the types of appropriate use cases?
Yeah, absolutely. We have built Collector, Survey, and QuickCapture to support different field data collection workflows. In the vast majority of cases, the biggest barrier to implement GIS technology to enable data collection is not the fact that people are working online versus offline or things like that. The biggest barrier is usability of the application in the field. So it's very important that we pick the right tool for the task. QuickCapture is specifically designed for rapid data collection, This is for people who don't want complications, want something very simple to capture simple observations. People who are moving in a moving vehicle, people who get confused very quickly with technology, and they want the simplest experience. Is QuickCapture the best option for every workflow? Certainly not. QuickCapture is really about capturing simple observations with location, type, and a photo. Done. But if you need to do, say, for example, a more involved assessment, damage assessment, or inspection, where you are capturing many more attributes, then Survey 123 is likely the best way to go. It's still an application that is relatively easy to use, but there is more involvement on the user side to complete this questionnaire. It's certainly not necessarily as quick as QuickCapture. And Collector is generally a great tool for people who want to edit maps. You want to go into the field, have a map, look at all the infrastructure, different layers, and then make edits, updates, or new additions on that map that you are looking at. Again, each tool for each workflow. In the example that we saw from Colorado, for example, that's a great example. In that one, you could see they selected QuickCapture to report the hazard. Why? Because when you are driving a truck, you can't get distracted looking at the screen. You want to use your voice and then add a new hazard. But for the maintenance crews who go to the assignment, these guys are using Survey 123 because the maintenance crews need to document more formally what they are doing at the site. So QuickCapture is not enough. You need, multiple decision points through that maintenance task to get the job done. So in this case, we have different people using different tools, which is quite common.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So another question, is it possible to apply an offset when you're, let's say you want to apply a certain offset from the collection point? Is that possible?
Not at the moment. Kind of the geometry that comes from QuickCapture is the geometry we get from your location sensor. Now, once you have the data, though, you can apply an offset. You can, in fact, apply an offset in the symbology. You don't have to touch the geometry. You can offset the symbology of the line to put it to the right or to the left. Or you can actually use a geoprocessing tool to do the offset as a post-process.
Okay. There's another question, and I assume that you're tracking this. What's been the international uptake of QuickCapture? How is it done internationally?
Well, we have actually in the website of QuickCapture, we have a user story from our friends at Becca in New Zealand. It's an AEC company that is using QuickCapture to document road work, really. And they selected it because it was so easy to use for the contractors that it was the best choice. We have also a massive project in India that has been, it is on hold at the moment because of COVID, but they are using QuickCapture for their population census effort. So just in India alone, in Android, we have over 35,000 downloads for that project. And I have seen also projects in Europe, often involving transportation, railway, transit, where, again, the ease of use of the application is kind of the killer feature of the app. The app is translated to all the different languages ArcGIS Online has been translated into. So it works with right to left languages. We have people in the Middle East using in Saudi Arabia as well. Yeah, so there is kind of a great uptake of the application outside the US, of course.
Okay, great. So let's see, there's, with the side-by-side map feature, is it possible for the user to actually see previously captured data so that as he goes on,
Totally. So you decide what is going to be shown on that map. So you can create a web map, and the web map can be pointing to as many feature layers as you want. So you can look at historical data. We have a small group from New York. They are experimenting with the use of QuickCapture for pavement conditions. So what they wanted to do was to show the pavement condition from the last year on the map, because that actually could influence the categorization of the condition for this year. So they wanted that information just as an archive, from last year. Different urban search and rescue teams are also using QuickCapture, and they love the ability to add online web maps, because then they can see all the different data observations that have been added by colleagues in the area. You can see the work from your teammates in the map in QuickCapture. That will be through a live web map.
Okay, and let's see, without getting too deep into the weeds, there is a question here relating to the support for webhooks. And question was, is it only webhooks, or would something like Zapier connect to this as well? Or is it primarily webhooks at the moment?
Support for webhooks is coming in May 5. You can actually test that out in the beta at the moment, right now. You can easily configure these webhooks to work with Zapier, IFTTT, and with Integromat, and even Microsoft Flow. Each of these platforms has a different way to hook up to the webhook in QuickCapture. The easiest by far is Integromat. We, in fact, have built a connector for Integromat. So it's like all visual, super easy. But even with Microsoft Automate, you can basically create a webhook in Microsoft Power Automate and then register it within Designer. And the same goes with Zapier and FTTT. It's all doable. It's just different approaches to make the connection with the different providers. If you want to learn more about the specifics, we can help you out through the early adopter program, or you can just email me directly, and then we can go through the process.
Okay, great, thanks. So there's a question you were both not only showed, but also spoke to an instance where the field crew actually captures something using QuickCapture, but then a later crew uses Survey 123. And the question really relates to how's the data stored, and does QuickCapture only capture the geometry? And then, so anyway, it's how are those two observations integrated?
Connected, sure. So if we go back to the web map where I added the features before, right? We added these 3 features. If I click on one of these features, look at all the data that has been compiled by QuickCapture. We certainly have the type. So you see the debris field is road marker. And in this case, the debris column is roadkill. So the type of feature is determined by the button that you pushed in QuickCapture. And on top of this, you have other attributes that have been calculated automatically, like the capture time, direction of travel, etc. This information can be loaded into Survey 123 because Survey, using the inbox, can load existing features into the Survey app, kind of like to populate your to-do list. And that's how the integration is done. This integration can also be extended to Workforce. Instead of creating features in your own feature service, you can configure QuickCapture to target the Workforce assignments layer. So you can create those Workforce assignments straight from QuickCapture. This is, speaking of the GeoNet group that we have, if you go there, much of what I'm describing is already documented here. This is the QuickCapture place in GeoNet. And here you will see that we have a handful of blog posts. And there is one here that describes here it is. How to create workforce assignments from QuickCapture, step by step. Similarly, you can ask questions in our forum here, and we can go over the process for Survey 123 as well.
All right, thanks. And another question is, QuickCapture compatible with Spike?
No. I would love to learn more about the requirements and what you want to do. I'm guessing you want to do some sort of offset, but I don't want to anticipate. This is something that has come up in a couple of occasions. So I would love to hear your requirements, because we are all for doing that if it makes sense to you. We did integrate a Spike with Survey 123. We have many users that are very happy with the integration. We will be happy to, reuse what we did for Survey and bring that functionality also into QuickCapture. Spike, for those who don't know about this technology, is a very nice laser measurement solution. It attaches to your phone. It's a small piece of hardware that basically calculates distances to remote objects using a laser. So you can use that along with the compass in your device to do offset measurements, and you can even do measurements on photos. Since you know the distance to the object, you can now draw on the photo and capture areas, and that can become a GIS attribute. Very powerful concept. So again, love to hear directly from you the requirements and discuss if it's worth introducing this in our roadmap.
Okay, there you go. You have your assignment. Let's see, there's another question having to do with voice control, and obviously, people have used their iPhone control settings. Do you have plans to add that really to make it native to the app as well as Android voice control?
Yes, the hands-free operation of the application at the moment is supported through the accessibility features in modern iOS devices, and it works really well. Now, what's the solution for Android? Well, on Android, we don't have hands-free operation at the moment. So we are actively working as a research project on incorporating within QuickCapture these hands-free or voice-operated capabilities. This is a large effort, so it will take us some time, but we are on it, and we actually have some prototypes in alpha that we are sharing with anyone who really wants to test the functionality. So we are working on having this built in. The main difference between the built-in capabilities and those provided by the operating system is support for languages. The iOS accessibility features only work in English, and the built-in capabilities we are working on work across multiple languages.
Okay, and just time for just a couple more very quickly. Is it possible to put a timestamp and a named user on the captured features?
Okay, let's have a look at that. So again, back to our web map here. You will see that the username in this case was anonymous, but if I were logged in, it would actually enter that value. And then the fixed time is the time when the button was pushed, not when the feature was added to the feature layer, which is what editor tracking does. And this is the time when the feature was captured. So this is all done through, again, QuickCapture Designer. So let me very quickly here show you how this is done. It's really a piece of cake. So I'm going to go into a project. This is QuickCapture Designer. I'm going to edit, and this shows me a preview of the project. And then if I click on a button, you can see that I can access the appearance properties, like the look and feel, say, of this button, but also in data, the mappings for the attributes. So these are all the attributes in the feature layer that I'm targeting. So here, I can go and pick the different device variables. So if I come here to fixed time, you see that in device variables, we have the capture time. But if I come here to this one, which is an integer, in device variables, we have different device variables that I can apply. If I look for a string field, you will see here that this is not it. Let me look for a text. Compass reading, observation type. Let's see if I can find March. Well, you will need to believe me, or I can switch to maybe another layer and pick. I thought this one would do, actually. It does. Well, there is a variable that applies to strings, which captures the username, the logged in username, and that's how ultimately you bring it over to as an attribute.
Okay, well, that's all the time that we have today. We do have a slide on the further resources, and certainly you can reach out to Ismail with any additional questions. As just to reiterate, this recording will be up on our website within 3 to 4 days. And again, we want to thank everyone for joining today. And we hope that you'll join us for our future webinars. So with that, all right, thanks again. Bye-bye.